everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Red Riding Hood's Wolf Apprentice, Final Testament to the Moon by Sayaki Mogi. And this looks like it's volume 1, so I think there will be more of these to come. This is by Glacier Bay, who is a small press company that brings over indie manga, things that you wouldn't get brought over normally, things that are kind of outside the mainstream in Japan, and I really love that. I ran into Imuru, who's like one of the head people at Glacier Bay while I was at Mocha, and went over to their table and just cleaned them out of anything that I didn't already have. And this is one of those books. You can see right out the gate here, you just get these really, really beautiful, fantastical colors on this book. And then like a standard manga, you go into the black and white. I definitely feel like out of all the books that I've got from Glacier Bay so far, this feels the most like a mainstream property to me. It's kind of like a little fantasy world where you have these kind of werewolf people, and I didn't really, by the end of the book, like have a real investment in the stakes yet, but the art's so gorgeous that I think like if I read maybe 2 more volumes of this where I could really get invested in the storyline, then I'd really be pulled into it. But there's the beastkin, and there's some werewolf people, and it's just kind of like a little fantasy story. I think really what sells me on this is the artwork, and here you can see what I'm talking about, where it feels much more mainstream manga than most of the stuff that you get from Glacier Bay, which is much more indie feeling. So this has that mainstream adventure fantasy manga feel to it, with little witches and big characters and like a guy like, a cool guy like this with fancy hair. But you also just get these really delicate, gorgeous landscapes and some really phenomenally imagined images in here. And I think that sets it apart for me. The big touchstone that I was thinking while I was reading this is the one volume. I haven't read more, but the one volume I've read of 7 to Your Eternity. Just that kind of line work, that kind of little bit of delicate Miyazaki-ness to it, but something else going on in there as well. Something, you can see the more modern influences as well in there. And just these really intensely detailed pages like this. And I think someone operating like this is probably doing it all themselves. I doubt they would have assistants. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe this is a more popular property, but it just seems like a little more of a independent production. Some really, really cool abstracts as well too. Like looking at this stuff with all these eyes peering out of the bushes. I thought that was really interesting. And then this is what I was saying, is you get to this and like I wasn't super invested in the story. It was just kind of this, fun little fantasy story here. And then as I get to the end, they're going into this cave here, and it's just this like ice crystal cave, and the imagery here is so stunning that it's like, oh, okay, well then I do need to know more about this world as we go into this and try and find out more of what's happening. So I'm basically sold on this on the art. I'll need a little bit more time on the story to really see what the story is about, but with images like this throughout the story, it will definitely incentivize me to buy more. And then some of these things that are a little bit cheesy mainstream manga to me, they become like acceptable to me within the context of this greater thing. And even this like very kind of mainstream feeling face, this is really, really well drawn. So I think it's top tier stuff. I'm surprised that this book is not a more mainstream, more popular project, but maybe there's something going on later in the series or something, I don't know. Actually right here, now that I'm looking at it, it says, those who have read the officially published story from this series, Red Riding Hood's Wolf Apprentice, published by Kodansha. So this is something that got published mainstream. This story is both a new chapter and a continuation of that work. I undertook to write this such that even if you haven't read anything else from the series, you can still enjoy this standalone work. Okay, well that explains it there then. That's exactly what I thought. It feels very mainstream, so the fact that Kodansha is publishing it makes a lot of sense, and the fact that I wasn't quite into like 100% sure what was going on in the story makes sense too, because the artist seems to think that I wouldn't need to read the rest, but I definitely got the sense that I was missing some stuff. So to know that there is a version published by Kodansha is interesting. like there's another series to follow up on. That makes more sense. So now I'm just really curious about how Glacier Bay come to have this, why this isn't also published by Kodansha. But anyways, it's like I said, really beautiful book. I'm definitely curious about going and getting Red Riding Hood's Wolf Apprentice, the actual series from Kodansha now, because like I said, I'm such a fan of the artwork and I do want to know more about the story. So very cool. As with all of Glacier Bay's books, really nice production. You know, you get the nice little foils. Like they do really, really nice jobs on all of their work. And I just love the mission of what they're doing as a company. So please go support them. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel and want to support us, there's two ways to do that. The first one's through our Patreon. We have 2 different tiers of engagement there. Any of the money that we get from the Patreon just goes back into buying the books that we review, so we really appreciate that ability to keep putting these things in front of you. And if you want to support us, Living the Line, the best thing to do is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his projects now. Centralia is an awesome, gorgeous comic by rising Dutch star Miel Van de Peet. This is his first work. It's a really great sci-fi story. There's a world in the future where the sun has gotten so hot that people can't be on the ground, so they have to run around. There's a lot of conceits that go with that. You know, what is the world that looks like? And I think you can see by the art that Sean's description of this book as like a Moebius for young adults, a YA Moebius, is a really great description of this really gorgeous and like wild, wacky, fun book. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.